Let me present Jerusalem in three dimensions. First, from the biblical point of view, and secondly, from history's point of view, and thirdly, from the political point of view. First, from the biblical perspective, Jerusalem, Israel, is the only nation that has been created by a sovereign act of God. God said to Abraham in Genesis 13:5, "For all the land you see, I will give it to you and your seed forever." Forever means the 21st century and the 22nd century and every century beyond. The Jewish people have a biblical mandate to possess and build the land. Israel was created by God. Israel is defended by God. For King David said, "He that keepeth Israel neither slumbers nor sleeps." The logic is very simple. Those who fight with Israel are fighting with a sovereign God. King David said in Psalms 137:5, "If I forget thee, O Jerusalem, let my right hand forget her cunning. If I do not remember thee, let my tongue cleave to the roof of my mouth. If I do not prefer Jerusalem above my chief joy." What was David saying? David was a musician who played the harp and he sang. And if his right hand forget its cunning and his tongue cleave to the roof of his mouth, he could neither play nor sing. And for a musician who could neither play nor sing, life would have no meaning. The point is very simple. If I forget Jerusalem, life has no meaning. Without Jerusalem, there is no meaning to the state of Israel. King David commands believers everywhere, pray for the peace of Jerusalem. They shall prosper that love you. And I can tell this national television audience, there's not a day goes by that the people of this church do not pray for the peace of Jerusalem. Jerusalem is mentioned over 800 times in Scripture. Jerusalem is the city of Solomon's temple. Jerusalem is the city where Isaiah and Jeremiah uttered the thoughts that molded the spiritual foundations of half the human race. Jerusalem is the city that symbolizes God's power to protect his people. David said in the 125th Psalm, "They that trust in the Lord shall be as Mount Zion," meaning Jerusalem, "which cannot be removed and abideth forever. As the mountains are round about Jerusalem, so the Lord is round about his people from henceforth, even forevermore." David was saying, even as the mountains are round about Jerusalem, are unmovable, so the righteous are unmovable. As the mountains around Jerusalem are unshakable, so the righteous are unshakable. As the mountains are around the city of Jerusalem eternal, so shall the Jewish presence in Jerusalem be eternal. Let me give you Jerusalem from the historical point of view. There are times when the highest intellectual duty is to restate the obvious in the pursuit of truth. Here are some historical facts about Jerusalem that are being judiciously ignored by the world press, and there's no place like national television to let it be known. The fact is, the Jewish claim to Jerusalem is rooted in 3,000 years of history. Jerusalem has been the heart and soul of Jewish consciousness even before King David made it the capital of Israel. The fact, throughout the diaspora, Jerusalem has always remained foremost in the thoughts of the Jewish people as they turn to Zion 3 times each day to pray. On holidays and festivals, Jews around the world bid one another this traditional farewell: next year in Jerusalem. Fact, throughout every period of foreign rule over Jerusalem, beginning with the Roman Empire in 70 AD, followed by the Byzantine Empire and Persia and Arab and Crusaders and Mamluk and the Ottoman Turks, the Jews were persecuted and slaughtered, sold into slavery and subject to exile. But the point is this: in spite of this, the Jewish presence in Jerusalem remained constant and enduring. They never left the land as being presented in the national media. The Jewish people have always been in Israel and have always been the heart and soul of Jerusalem. Since 1840, the Jews have constituted the largest ethnic group in the city and have held an uninterrupted majority in Jerusalem since 1860. The fact is, the Palestinian problem was created and sustained by Arab leaders, not Israel. On May 15th, 1948, the day that Israel was reborn as a nation, according to Isaiah 66 and 8, 5 Arab nations led by Nazis and British military personnel attacked the infant state of Israel in an attempt to slaughter the Jewish people. The Secretary General of the Arab League said, and I quote, "This will be a war of extermination and a momentous massacre, which will be spoken of like the Mongolian massacres and the Crusades," end of quote. In 1948, the Arab leadership told the Arabs in Israel to leave their farms and their homes, and when they had driven the Jews into the sea, they could reclaim their property and the Jewish property. The problem is they started a war, and to their shock, they lost that war. The fact is, when you start a war and you lose a war, you must be prepared to live with the consequences of that war. And the consequences of that war were the Palestinian refugees. The Arab nations with a common language and a common religion and a common culture and an abundance of land and swimming in oil money refused citizenship to their Palestinian brothers. They watched them live in squalor and did nothing. Why? Because the eyes of a geopolitically ignorant world looked at the suffering Palestinians on television night after night and said how heartless Israel must be. It was very effective, and no one ever explained the core of the problem. In 1967, Jerusalem's Arabs were offered full Israeli citizenship, and most declined to accept it. The fact of history is this: the Palestinian refugee problem was created and sustained by Arab leaders. You will not see that on CNN tonight, or on ABC, or CBS, or NBC, but that is a fact of history, and the truth is still the truth. And in closing, Israel from the political point of view, let me refer to Yasser Arafat and the UN Resolution 181. The denial, the refusal to recognize Israel's sovereignty over Jerusalem has been going on for more than half a century. The UN General Assembly Resolution number 181 of November 1947 proposed that the city of Jerusalem be internationalized. The fact is, the Arab nations rejected the resolution and promptly launched a war. Israel made a historic stand. Thousands died, tens of thousands were wounded, but Israel won the war. The fact is that the UN resolution, therefore, calling for the internationalization of Jerusalem is null and void. It no longer exists. You'll be hearing more about Resolution 181 from Yasser Arafat in the days and weeks ahead. When you do, Christians, understand it has nothing to do with making peace, and it has everything to do with waging war against Israel's very existence. That's what it's about. The Clinton administration claims to be Israel's friend. You wouldn't know it from the blind eye it turns to every outrageous, warlike statement made by the leadership of the Palestinian Authority. Recently, as reported by Cal Thomas, the Palestinian Authority television station PBC carried an interview with Ahmed Tibi, a personal advisor to Yasser Arafat. Mr. Tibi said, quote, "We are here to state that we are the owners of this land." By that he meant the land of Israel. Quote, "We are the rightful owners, and this is our history, and we will never bend." End of quote. On the same broadcast, scenes were shown in Ramallah, which included calling the leaders of Israel Nazis and burning a model of a Jewish community and burning the Israeli flag. Other pictures on that telecast showed Mr. Arafat on the dais with other Palestinian Authority leaders. And Arafat joined in the chant, "All of Jerusalem is Arab, the entire land belongs to the Arabs," end of quote. There were appeals for people to become martyrs and for holy war. It is clear that Israel's enemies have no intentions of making peace, only war, until all the land is rid of the Jewish people and the Palestinians occupy it, most especially Jerusalem. America's leaders must face this problem. Either Arafat and his supporters are lying to their fellow Palestinians about their intentions to control Jerusalem, or they are lying to the United States and using the so-called peace process to pick America's pockets for money. One of those two has to be true. Both of them cannot be true. It's about one side's determination to eradicate an entire people from the region by whatever means necessary. It's about one side that makes its violent intentions very plain. It's about an American government that for the last two administrations has tried to force Israel into believing the unbelievable, that real peace is possible with people who say they want you dead and gone. Peace requires a partnership. Israel has over 200 organizations whose purpose is to help the Israelis see life from the Arab point of view. I have 6 pages of them here. I'm not going to read them all, aren't you glad? A Bridge for Peace, afternoon workshops for Jewish and Arab children, Arab and Jewish cooperation in Accra, Arab and Jewish meetings programs, Arab and Jewish women's coexistence and leadership forum, Arab language materials, Arab Jewish corporation, Arab Jewish outreach project, on and on, page after page after page after page. And now let me read to you all of the Arab organizations that are put together to foster closer relationships between Arabs and Israelis, meant to reach out to each other. Are you ready? Listen. In closing, the Clinton administration keeps sending warning signals that they're not happy with Israeli land offers, and Washington is saying they're going to make their own land proposals in a last-ditch effort for the president to leave a meaningful foreign policy legacy. Hear me, Christians of America, how much land Israel is willing to give up for peace is none of Washington's business. It's Israel's security that's at stake here. Why are we as a nation trying to press Israel to enter into a treaty with a people who have sworn to kill them? Washington can afford to be wrong about Yasser Arafat. Israel cannot. If a line must be drawn, draw it around both Christians and Jews. According to the doctrine of fundamental Muslim, both Christians and Jews face a common plight: conversion or death. If a line must be drawn, draw it around both Christians and Jews, for we are Zionists. We are friends of Israel and defenders of Jerusalem. For Zion's sake, we have not been silent, we will not be silent, and for Jerusalem's sake, we shall not rest until the Lord makes Jerusalem the praise of all the earth. God bless you.